ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ברית
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom,
The highlight of the Jewish festivals and holidays is its music. The joy of a rich harvest can be found in the melodies of Sukkot.
As we are blessed to gather in the warmth and the comfort and the security and the solace of our Shabbat, let us leave the troubles, the challenges, the burdens of our week at the threshold of our sanctuary door. Let us invite in the holiness, the divinity, the togetherness, the family of Shabbat. As we light our candles of Shabbat, it's my pleasure to call forward Robin and her daughter Kelly, yes, to lead us in the kindling of our Sabbath candles on page 3. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר, להדליק נר, להדליק נר של שבת.
We embark in worship on page 8. As we always do, as we begin even our days, is with the very first prayer that we say as we open our eyes, a prayer of gratitude. So too do we begin with a prayer of gratitude on the Sabbath. I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics, and no services, but maybe I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. In prayer, I reach upward, I hope it uplifts me. I sense these qualities as I look upward in my Creator. To love God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created, and to love God is to be holy partners to God, to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us and to bring that vision to life. I like to believe that as we embark, as we reach our time of holiness, our time of sacredness, that Sabbath, I do genuinely believe that we're accompanied by angels. I believe those angels are with us at all times in all places, but we feel their presence more, perhaps, as we gather ourselves, as we make way to the Sabbath. And so too also, I believe that sometimes we even may see each other as angels, guiding one another, supporting one another, asking one another to take some time aside to make sure that we value that which is the inner light within each and every one of us, to pause, to reflect, to take the time to be at peace, to be at time to be at peace with ourselves, to be at time to be at peace with those whom we love, to be at peace, to find shalom in our life. It's not easy always to ask that of ourselves, but sometimes a guiding angel can invite us to do so. So let us be grateful as we are surrounded, as we welcome in the angels of Shabbat Malachai Hasharet, who have guided us to this time of shalom in our lives. Shalom Alechem, peace to each and every one of us as angels to one another on our Sabbath.
La 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 la. Shalom Alechem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Elyon. Mimelech, Mimelech, Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leshalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon. Mimelech, Mimelech, Malachei Amlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. La 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 la. La 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 la. Baruchuni leshalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon. Mimelech, Mimelech, Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitchem leshalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon. Mimelech, Mimelech, Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. La 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 la. La 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 la.
On page 27 at the bottom of the page, entrances to holiness are everywhere, and the possibility of ascent is all the time, even at unlikely times and through unlikely places. There is no place on earth without the divine presence. And so we rise as we meet the divine in our sanctuary, in the sanctuary of our homes, in the sanctuary of our lives, as we feel the embrace of shalom on our Shabbat.
Lai 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 lai. Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Lai 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 lai.
Baruch atah Adonai hamariv aravim, bless the Lord our God, who brings on our evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael, bless Lord our God, who loves the people Israel and all people. As we continue with the ancient watchwords of our faith, the Shema, page 34 and page 35.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Friends, please be seated. Bless the Lord God's majesty forever and ever.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem Emet. In a moment, we'll continue with a prayer of peace and security and sanctuary that we say not only in our Shabbat service, but often sometimes even as we lay down to rest, our prayer of Hashkivenu, which invites in all of the senses that we have of feeling that warm blanket of holiness to embracing our lives. In fact, in camp, that's the prayer that we literally sing to the kids as they have their lullaby songs as they go to bed. And I have to say that, when sometimes we're looking for a sense of peace in our lives as we lay our head down to rest, how many of us just let our mind just continue to go around and around and around from the senses of anxiety in our lives? If we could just maybe in those moments take a measure of restoration of ourselves, of seeing truly that we are all created in the image of the divine, that we are all grateful to be just alive, that we're grateful for the world, we're grateful for being able to take a breath, that we're grateful for the responsibilities and the obligations that we have as Jews, that we have the senses of connection to something greater than us that transcends us. So many times I just pray that as we lay our head down to rest, if we could only invite in that warmth, that light, that peace, that shalom of Judaism and of holiness. Our Hashkivenu, our prayer of rest.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרינו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרינו לחיים. ושמור את צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרינו לחיים השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרינו לחיים ושמור את צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרינו לחיים השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרינו לחיים.
We continue to praise the Sabbath, Vishamru, page 44.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם לעולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת וינפש לי לי לה 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 לי 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 לה 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 לי שבת וינפש.
We rise in prayer for our prayer of our ancestors, our tefillah, page 46.
אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imoteinu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיה הכל אתה רב להושיע משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם מחלקל חיים בחסד מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לישני עפר מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ולמען אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל.
You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh. Friends, please be seated. On page 55, disturb us, Adonai, ruffle us from our complacency. Make us dissatisfied with the peace of ignorance, the quietude which arises from a shunning of the horror, the defeat, the bitterness, and the poverty, physical and spiritual, of humans. Shock us, Adonai. Deny us the false Shabbat, which gives us the delusions of satisfaction amid a world of war and hatred. Wake us, O God, and shake us from the sweet and sad poignancies rendered by half-forgotten melodies and rubric prayers of yesteryears. Make us know that the border of the sanctuary is not the border of living, and the walls of your temples are not shelters from the winds of truth, justice, and reality. Disturb us, O God, and vex us. Let not your Shabbat be a day of torpor and slumber. Let it be a time to be stirred and spurred to action. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. On page 57, you are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds our minds, we look inward for the answer to our prayers, and there may we find you, and find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha bira na'avod. Let us pray together at the top of page 59. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha, l'cha na'eh l'hodot. And as we are guided by the light of our Shabbat candles, the light of the angels, the light of the comfort of Hashkivenu, so too let us embrace that light of peace, of abundance of peace. Shalom Rav, page 60.
Shalom Rab al Yisrael amcha tasim leholam. Shalom Rab al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Ki ata umelech adon lechol השלום, כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, נשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, נשים לעולם. בטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, נשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, נשים לעולם. תשים לעולם, תשים לעולם.
Let us take a few moments of silent prayer and private reflection, guiding language that may be found throughout our prayer books, whichever prayers may spring from our hearts.
Shalom, shalom bimromav, uyase shalom. Shalom, shalom bimromav, uyase shalom. Uyase shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'ale kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Ve'ale kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Shalom, shalom bimromav, uyase shalom. Shalom, shalom bimromav, uyase shalom. Uyase shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru
We take a few moments to lift up those in need of prayers of body, mind, and spirit. As my eyes meet yours, please share aloud those of our loved ones in need of such support on our Shabbat. To these we also add Ann Becker, Richard Blanke, Abe Cohen, Seth Gelwasser, Kathy Greenberg, Dr. Robert Greenstein, Judy Hand, Don Harvey, Hannah Cates, Phyllis Lewis, Charles Messing, Louis Montiel, Elwood Powers, Diana Ramos, Michelle Robinson, Gabrielle Rosenthal, Molly Salsitz, Elena Schroeder, Sheila Smith, Andy Sawson, Amy Sponseller, Ray Strauss, Charlie Wolf, and Martin Zoffman, and Reese and Preston Plost. Our prayers of healing may be found on page 253.
מי שברך אבותינו מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our life a blessing, and let us say Amen. ישברך אמותינו מקור הברכה לאבותינו. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
My wife took the kids to get that, the ice cream that's really yogurt, that type of place. I don't go there very much. And you can mound it up. She said that she got just 2 for the kids, and she spent $28. Can you imagine the size of what they got and all the toppings? $28. They hadn't eaten since the day before. And the reason being that the kids, both of them, my son and daughter, had their wisdom teeth taken out today. So they couldn't eat last night and this morning. And they evidently, after you get your wisdom teeth out, it's been a while. I kept on telling Michelle, don't worry about it. That's my wife. Don't worry about it. Everything will be fine. I remember getting mine out. She was so worried, sick. She made sure that my family still is in Maryland, and they're going to join me down here, as many of us know, in the summer. But she was so worried about the procedure that she would not let any of the local dentists in Western Maryland touch our children. In these cases, she reminds me it's her children. Touch our children. And so she drove them all the way to Johns Hopkins to make sure that the procedure would be fine. So I really think there's a couple good dentists in Hagerstown. And there are, because I know a few of them were in my congregation when I served there. So the procedure went just fine. They're doing okay. But it made me wonder a little bit about what are these wisdom teeth? And why are they called wisdom teeth? And why do we even have them? And why are they being taken out? Who here has had their wisdom teeth taken out? Aha! Not you? You have your wisdom teeth? And, I think it's just a matter of course. And of course, I had never thought about it before. I guess, others, it just comes naturally. They're called wisdom teeth evidently because you become of a certain age, and it's usually around 18 that they pop in, and so it's a time of maturity in your life, I guess. And so it's assumed that these are the teeth that you get when you have reached an age of wisdom. They're synonymous with wisdom. But why are there wisdom teeth even to begin with? And I did a little bit of reading, and evidently many thousands of years ago, we needed these teeth in order to grind certain foods as we were out there in the wilderness. Certain types of meats and nuts and grains, that those coarse elements needed to be somehow, the nutrients need to be refined, and we needed to be able to sustain ourselves. And so I wasn't too sure why they come in so late, as though like you wouldn't need them when you're younger. But it still was a fascinating thing for me to think about, that we as humanity have evolved to the point when we no longer are in need at all of these teeth that took how many thousands of years to develop evolution in an evolutionary way, that they were necessary for us, that we've evolved in some way, shape, or form beyond what God creates us with. That to me is a really interesting thought of how far we are ahead in terms of civilization. And I'd like to believe that one of the steps along that way of development of wisdom might have been religion. And I'd like to even consider the fact that perhaps one of those steps of religion that helped us to evolve is Judaism. And then it makes me consider, what is it about Judaism that has helped humanity and civilization grow to this stage, grow to this point, where we've even evolved past our basic urges? And what is going to be necessary to maintain us such that we don't come back and devolve into those more primal aspects of our nature? The Parsha this week speaks of Jacob. We've just had a whole set of narratives, longest stretch of a story in the Bible about Joseph. Okay, it's longest single story devoted to a person, and now we turn back to Jacob. And Jacob is in Egypt, and he's in his final years in Egypt. He lives all the rest of his life in Israel, and he settles down now in Egypt. And the Bible shares with us that in his elder years that he has found a sense of happiness, a sense of completion, a sense of wholeness. Doesn't necessarily tell us why. And we can consider perhaps why, that maybe all the time preceding his being in Egypt, that he was living a life, many of our commentators offer to us, of real torture, of real pain. Why? Because he was separated from his family. He was worried about the struggle and the strain of his family and what they were enduring, and trying to prepare for a sense of stability, and that stability was never attained. That sense of wholeness was never attained. How many of us feel that way in our lives, that there's a brokenness in our families, that there's a brokenness, a separation from people that are close to us, and we yearn from a day when we can live in a prolonged sense of feeling together, a closeness, that the brokenness, that the misunderstandings, that the distance, that the separation of heart and soul, that gap closes. And can you imagine that if you have family that's living in different parts of the world where you literally can't see them, be with them as much as you would like, that finally in your elder years, isn't that we all hope for, that your kids and your grandkids are, you hope and pray, a little closer to you, at least a little bit more accessible. If they're not living in the same area, at least you can get to them or see them more regularly. And so maybe this is a reason, as Jacob is now down in Egypt in his elder years, maybe this is the reason why we have continued on as a Jewish people, evolved, because we have understood the value of family, that we have taken it seriously, that it means something to us, and that as a understanding of family, that we have connections and responsibilities as a family. And I do believe that our sense of family, the importance of family, the importance that we teach our children certain values and precepts, that we teach our children the necessity of taking care of our parents as they age, and that we make sure that we try to even though it's hard, even though it's difficult sometimes, to try and encourage, the brothers and the sisters to get along a little better. Wouldn't that be nice, right? We struggle with this because we're all created in some way, shape, or form is part of a family, and then there's the families that we acquire. And to make it all work well together isn't easy. It's really not easy. But to hold those values true of family, you know, in Hebrew, we know one word for family. It's what? Mishpacha, right? In Israel, there's another word that's referred to as family members. It's krovim, right? Krovim. Krovim are relatives, and krovim derives from the same root word of karev, which is to be close. That a person who is a relative is someone who is close to you, someone who you feel close to, someone who you're geographically close to. This consideration of family is so very foundational and has kept us together, and it has helped us to learn and grow together. It's what has preserved and sustained us as a humanity. Those bonds. Because without family in this world, you may not be able to get very far. We all know how necessary family is. But I think there's actually even more of a teaching in the Parsha than just that. I think that there's a good understanding that in this place of security with his family, as the Jews are now prospering, as they're settling in fertile land, as they are led by none other than the viceroy of Joseph, who has so much power and respect in Egypt, with all that prosperity, with all that stability, I wonder if Jacob doesn't see that the Jews are going to be removed from the sense of their destiny land that's been given to them by God, that they are going to be living in exile, in the diaspora, under authoritarianism, under tyranny, in a state of inequity, in a state of hypocrisy, in a state of discontent, in a state of hardship. I wonder if Jacob, being the prophetic guy that he is, being one of the forefathers of the Jewish people, I wonder if he doesn't have the wisdom to realize that the good times may be soon over and the dark times are right around the corner. But why? Why would Jacob then offer such a blessing to his children, which he does, of hope, if he knew that they were about to, that his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren, live in such a darkened world? And why would family mean so much in that condition, in that state? Perhaps the lesson of the Parsha is to know that our ultimate sense of light in the world, of divinity, of shalom, of the angels amongst us, of the blanket of the lullabies that we sing of divinity, of the shelters that we find ourselves in, and the canopy that we seek in the sanctuary of our lives. Maybe perhaps it's an understanding that we have a purpose. We have a mission. That to be Jewish, to be part of the Jewish family, is, yes, to gather ourselves together, to be close to one another, to have that sense of support in life, especially through the difficult times. But it also means to be part of the Jewish family is to have the obligations and responsibilities, knowing that there is a tomorrow, but the way through that tomorrow is oftentimes uncertain, oftentimes hard, and oftentimes full of struggle. One of the reasons that I am here with you, and I pray that you are here with each other, is that you take pride in knowing that there is so many troubles in the land around us. I just found out this week, I don't know if it's true, it might be, that of all the counties in the United States, that Broward County has the greatest disparity of wealth, of inequity, of any county in the United States. Whether that's accurate or not, whether that's a myth or not, I can tell you for a fact that there are plenty of examples of that disparity of wealth in this area that we live in. I can tell you that we're going through a terrible state of transition. I can tell you the fact that in Broward, the values that we hold dear of a progressive, inclusive Judaism are on the decline. I can tell you that if we were to look at just about any Reformed Jewish community in Broward and most in South Florida, that they are on the decline and have been on the decline for many, many years. And I could tell you that in contrast, some of our co-religionists that have a more particularist view of the world, a more tribal view of the world, I might even say, that they're on the rise. And so maybe, perhaps, that yes, as much as we value family, as much as we value the support and the guidance and the love that family provides, perhaps ultimately, what really is the sustaining faith of wisdom that has carried us forward beyond those very tribal, primal elements of who we are, is the understanding that to being Jewish means having a deep attachment to a prophetic spirit, and that we have a responsibility and obligations in our life to lift up the world, to rescue the world from trouble and distress, and that to be Jewish is to know that we improve ourselves and we contribute to humanity by being a part of this Jewish family. And that by coming together on Shabbat in a Reformed community like Temple Solel, by being a member of the family of Solel, that we have hope in the future, that there is a destiny for us, and that there is a promise of all of the values that we hold dear, and that by each time that we see one another on Shabbat, each time that we greet one another, each time that we hear Judaism or Jewish values, we know that we're not alone, we know that we are strong, and like Jacob, with his family around him, no matter what the dark days are that he will endure through the family of his life and the family of Judaism, that civilization will continue and it will prosper as long as the Jews are a beacon onto the world. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be God's will. Let us continue with the adoration as we rise, page 282.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Friends, please be seated. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Loved each of us for the peace and the family that we share together. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace.
ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
A mournful prayer on page 291. It is hard to sing of oneness when the world is not complete, when those who once brought wholeness to our life have gone. And naught but memory can fill the emptiness their passing leaves behind. But memory can tell us only what we were in the company with those we loved. It cannot help us find what each of us alone must now become. Yet, no one is really alone. Those who live no more echo still within our thoughts and words, and what they did is part of what we have become. We do best homage to our dead when we live our lives more fully, even in the shadow of our loss. For each of our lives is worth the life of the whole world, and each one is the breath of the ultimate one. In affirming the one, we affirm the worth of each one, whose life now ended brought us closer to the source of life, in whose unity no one is alone, and every life finds purpose. On this Shabbat Eve, we lift up in sacred memory those who have been recently taken from us. Sharon Perlman, wife of Bob Perlman, mother of Bruce and Kathy Perlman, Michael and Susie Perlman, and David Perlman and Stephen Flynn, the grandmother of Jacob, Zachary, Megan, and Samuel, and the sister of Pat Schneider and Susan Simon. Fred Lippman, husband of Marlene, father of Robin and Michael, and Michael's wife Denise, grandfather of Ari, Jacob, Max, Lizzie, and Charlie. Carl Schuster, husband of Sandy Schuster, father of Stephen Schuster, Richard, Yvette Schuster, Deborah and William Goldman, and the grandfather of Jared, Jack, Jordan, Mandy, Brandon, and Jade. So too, we also lift up those who have died in this season in years past. Francis Bernstein, Martin Burke, William Carmel, Jacob Casoto, Fred Chasen, Jacob Cohen, Thomas Danner, Beatrice Danzig, Sidney Edwards, Judith Epstein, Murray Feldman, Teresa Feldman, Mary Friedman, Geraldine Gaynor, Ruth Gilman, Nathan Gold, Leo Goldsmith, Albert Goldstein, Bess Grant, Elaine Guston, Jack Haber, Bertha Halpern, Otto Hertz, Leo Hoffman, Miriam Janchel, Bernice Carroll, Sarah Cass, Stephen Katzen, David Kaufman, Eliyahu Khani, Alan Korbar, David Korbar, Jules Krasner, George Lesney, Morris Lesney, Aaron Lewin, Arthur Libman, Fayed McDowell, Ann Rogers, Donald Rosenthal, Gerald Saliba, Milton Schillinger, Leo Schumer, Evelyn Severin, Sam Spiegel, Dr. Joseph Sugarman, Shirley Suskind, Saul Topping, Larry Trunsky, and Julius Weinberg and Charles Plost. Would all mourners who are present please rise? And would the remainder of the congregation please rise for the mourner's Kaddish, which can be found on page 294. Yikadal v'kadash shemei Rabbah, b'yamad divrach hirutei v'amlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, b'gala v'zman kariv yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam umei amaya. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitramam v'yinaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudashah brichu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiram be'ama v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mirmav, v'yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'yimru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all who mourn, to which we offer. Amen. Friends, please be seated. Few words of welcome and announcements from our past president, David Topping.
For those of you who are here, I just want to let you know I did not call Rabbi Plost today and say, what suit are you wearing? And are you wearing a blue shirt and brown shoes? Because we're both wearing blue window pane today. Shabbat Shalom and welcome to Temple Solel. I appreciate the opportunity to represent the temple and to offer these announcements. Torah study with Rabbi Plost begins at 9:30 tomorrow morning. If you can, please join the rabbi here at the temple and be face-to-face with him as your friends as he teaches us. Of course, you can Zoom as usual also. It really is a great inclusion into your Shabbat schedule. Please note that there is no religious school this Sunday for our children due to winter break because it's so cold out. Next week, we will be here for Shabbat services at 7:30 as Rabbi Plost and Cantor Rosen lead us in ritual. Please mark your calendars, January 16th, it's Mitzvah Day, and we will be back at the Dania Beach Patch Garden to assist them in their garden, and also we'll be collecting needed toiletries that will be delivered to the Jewish cupboard for those in need of assistance. Please check the Pathfinder for more details, and I certainly will remind you of the event when it comes closer. Thank you to Bob Pomerantz for sponsoring tonight's Oneg. Thanks, Bob. We really appreciate it, and if you're interested in sponsoring an Oneg here at Temple, please find me after services tonight at the Oneg, or for those who are attending remotely, please contact the Temple office and leave a message for me through Anita. On this Shabbat, let us wish the best of luck to Michelle Taylor, who has recently been nominated by President Biden to serve as our UN ambassador to the United Nations Human Rights Council. Taylor is the daughter of a Holocaust survivor, serves on the board of the National Center for Civil and Human Rights, and was the former vice chair of the National Finance Committee of the Democratic Party. She's an observant Jew from Atlanta. Secretary of State Blinken commented that the council plays a meaningful role in protecting human rights and fundamental freedoms by documenting atrocities in order to hold wrongdoers accountable. Sounds like we are in good hands. By the way, the first U.S. representative of this council was Eleanor Roosevelt, who served from 1947 to 1953. Shabbat Shalom.
It would appear that Blinken is keeping the Jewish family and Jacob's sense of family alive and well in the 21st century. I do have to say, I was struck by a very necessary aspect of our sacred tradition. Next Friday, isn't next Friday Christmas Eve? Right? Far from it from the rabbi to create an inherent challenge between being in the sanctuary on Christmas Eve and that other sacred rite that many of us partake on Christmas Eve, which is, of course, as Jews gathering for Chinese food. So maybe we should all, to not create that challenge and struggle, maybe we should all consider going to Chinese food somewhere and then coming to services. Just a possibility. If it's safe. Who knows? Anyways, I have to say, Cantor, you're always fantastic, but tonight you were extra fantastic. So really lift us up in song to the heavens tonight as we continue with our Kiddush. I ask the congregation to please rise.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה וראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש 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 השבת אמן לחיים
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. And our concluding hymn,
Adon Olam.
Adon Olam.
Page 321. Adon Olam asher malach בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נשא בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון עולם ואחרי ככלות הכל לברו ימלוך נורא אדון עולם והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה אדון עולם אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נשא בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון עולם בידו אפקיד רוחי בעת תישן ואירה אדון עולם ועם רוחי גבייתי אדוני לי ולא אירה אדון עולם אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נשא בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון עולם.
May we always be uplifted by the spirits of our faith by the strength of our Judaism and the holding close to the principle, keep your friends close and your family closer. Shabbat Shalom.